Back in the 1980s, more than 30 of Ugandans had contracted the HIV virus, and since then Uganda has been at the forefront of the fight against the virus, which has claimed millions of lives. In 1982, the first cases of slim disease, literally referred to as loss of weight, were identified in the then Rakai district, present-day Kyotera. It was, however, not until 1985 that the disease was recognized as AIDS and has been a serious public health problem for Ugandans.
I recall the first cases of AIDS that I saw in Uganda. The very first person who died of AIDS that I knew of was my classmate. My classmate came down with a strange illness. He had a very severe headache and later on died of meningitis associated with HIV. You know, they get so small, so slim, they have diarrhea.
It's recorded that traders crossed the Fourth and back from Uganda to Tanzania for business along Lake Victoria via Rukunyu Island to Kasensero, the epicenter of HIV/AIDS.
Kabanyaga, Tanzania.
We started our research story in the surrounding villages of Sekaningo Hill, where many families lost lives of their dear ones to HIV/AIDS. At Kyotera village in Uganda division, we visited the ancestral home of the late Mary Namuli, which was abandoned, and next to it was the graveyard where she lay with her late father Freddy Kagambe Mulumba and her only child. Namuli, who returned home from Kabanyaga market, was the first to be tested for HIV, whose samples were flown into the United States but died suddenly in 1982.
Kasensero landing site was the first place in Uganda to get a positive HIV person. After diagnosis by RHSP. RHSP is the Rakai Health Sciences program, which took, by then we had no testing reagents here in Uganda, and that blood had to be taken to America, then brought back with results being negative, positive.
The late Namuli is described as a pretty charming and nice-looking young woman who ventured in bar business at Kasensero landing site and slept around with a bunch of men.
Wano wenyumiridde enentaana ye ya Namuli mmere gwe basooka okukebera ne bamuggyako sample ne bagitwala America ne basangamu akawuka ka siriimu.
Our next destination was the homes of Costa Nalukwago, aged 83, and Wonulata Nakalanzi, both widows of the late Paulino Senchima, commonly known as Munyolo, who lost 7 children.
Naberanga munyikaavu munenga sina kyakola kubanga bukati bwafa omumbo yafa nemmala omwezi n'omulala n'afa nemmala omwezi n'omulala n'afa nengamba kiki kino kyetuliko nga mmaze okuwulira nti akawuka kakoze eki katabadde nange neŋŋuma nengamba Mukama gw'obimanyi byonna era gwobitegeka sina kyakola.
Bango inako ebifaananyi by'abagenzi.
Ebifaananyi nabiyuza nali mbina naye nabiyuza nga saagala kubalabako.
Many people had no idea about the origin of the virus and what it was associated with the majority relating it to witchcraft.
Ati story emu gye baatugamba waliwo omukazi yajja n'ebisawo bya mukene ne babibba. Bwe babibba n'agamba buli eyakutteko bonna njagala balintuuka. Kati bano bwe balwala abasinga baali bamanyi nti nno bafudde mukene.
Olugambo singa bwali bubbi ebibaali badde baabirabadda ne biggwawo. Kituufu ekinabadde nkimulekeddeyo omubiri gwakunkumukanga empumbu omutwe ne guvaamu evvu enviri ne zikuunyuka ne ziggwako. Kituufu naye nga bwali bulwadde.
Many of the fishermen contracted AIDS and died. However, Haji Senchima thought of an alternative remedy to save lives of his fellow fishermen.
Abantu bange bana abambira ngabanzigwako namagana ulide bagamba oli business bagamba akola ku bantu ab'embuto emyezi 3 ne buno obulwadde tasobola bukolako nali manyimu kuba kaiso nimpita abavubi bange bonna ne bajja ngamba kuba eddagala bawangalako omwaka gumu ne bafa.
Moses Mayombo has lived with HIV for more than a decade and now works with the rehabilitation agencies. He takes us through his experiences when he found out he was diagnosed with the virus.
Netandika okulwala bwendwala okulwala nno okw'amaanyi ennyo ne bantwala ekitovu ne bankebera ne maama w'abaana yaliwo kati bamubuulira tenina akawuka ka siriimu era nali neebase tulaba omuntu agenze tadda buzibye n'agendera ddala n'ayitira awo.
Some of the residents at the landing site who have managed to protect themselves from AIDS appreciated the leading partners for their efforts.
Nzira kukyaliwo ne kino ekiriwo kati nyinza okuga nti tewali bulwadde kubanga luli wali tosobola kumala mwezi wadde ogumu wadde weeks nga toziise ne kati tumala n'emyaka. Gavumenti President Museveni agezezzaako nnyo njagala okwebaza obwakabaka bwa Buganda.
However, there are still weaknesses in AIDS prevention among the youth.
Abamu bayize abamu tebanayiga kubanga lwaki njogedde bwentyo empeke zino bwe zajja oli bwazimina n'afuna amaanyi ataddeyo n'asambagala n'amanya nti mponye.
Habati Senyonga spearheads a campaign to fight against AIDS at Kasensero Health Center 3, says the prevalence rate of AIDS infections has dropped.
The interventions, like a PrEP and the PEP, HIV is somewhat reduced, but we have some hindering factors like the myth that once you use a condom, sex is not enjoyable.
For the sex workers who exchange their bodies for money, they don't care whether men use protectors. This is evident in a voice of a sex worker, recorded negotiating for sex in a lodge.
Chisingomaze.
Ate wetaba short. Wetaba short.
Mbalayi. Alayi.
Ate ebeddako awo sente meka gye muyita longo si yeyo.
Longo kyotegeeza nga kusula? Kuba kwesatu.
Esatu. Ate live.
Here some people are proud of having unprotected sex with the sex workers.
Kwarali guba mutete. Omutete gwe. Kali kukono mukale cheta na kutwala.
Yaba tali mu bweralikirivu.
Aba kulideko bulina yenga amanye nti awamu.
Wobo manyi buyimiride butya.
Bwange bumanyi. Ndi mulamu. Ya.
Kati lwaki oba okemekerezebwa okubanga
nandi nzikwatibwa.
The leadership at Kasensero Town Council is working hard to step up the awareness campaigns in the fight against AIDS.
Omwami wasanga alina obulwadde bwa siriimu ate n'awasa omukazi omuto tagala kumulaga mpeke. Omukyala waba alina siriimu tebagala kwambala life guard kukendeeza bulwadde bwa mukenenya.
Okugezaako okusomesa abantu ekitayinza kwebereka nti bagezeeko okukozesa condoms.
Our investigation report reveals women and girls during the day sell food and tea in kiosks and serve in bars and elsewhere in a casual manner, while at night they resort to prostitution. The number of discordant couples where one partner is HIV positive and the other negative still puzzles many. The battle to end HIV by 2030 remains a puzzle to many who opt to having an affair without the use of protectors, going for 5,000 Ugandan shillings. I'm IVAN JJUUKO for UBC.